my date wouldn't stop talking about stew and told me I was boring. Wait, what? Okay, that sounds amazing. Let's see. So, 21 woman, I've been texting this guy for a few weeks and things were going great. He was sweet, attentive, and easy to talk to, no weird vibes whatsoever. He asked me on a date, and I was very excited. He literally would not stop talking about food the entire time. Any question he asked me about myself was food related. Asked me to rank my favorite cheeses, what way I like to cook vegetables, when the last time I ate a steak was. If I was able to change the subject, he would talk about it for a bit before bringing the conversation back to food. He had a stew cooking at home apparently and wouldn't stop talking about it. We were mid-conversation and he cut me off to say he was anxious about the stew and needed me to say something to comfort him. That is really weird. He was mid-sentence and stopped talking out of nowhere and said, sorry, I was just thinking about my stew again. Was this dude dating you on a is this a dare? This feels like a dare. I learned nothing about him that wasn't food related, and he didn't even try to find out anything else about me. He would get a bit agitated at how I was answering his food questions and told me I was boring. At the end of the date, he gave me a high five and left. Neither of us have texted since, so it's safe to say it was mutually a bad date, but I can't help but feel like I did something wrong. I don't know, man. Rank your favorite cheeses gave me a good laugh. Was your date with Charlie Kelly? Or perhaps Wallace of Wallace and Gromit? What the hell? Amazing. The ranking cheeses would have made me laugh too if he didn't proceed to get frustrated that I could only rank a few. Yeah, I'd be that person. I only know of like 5 cheeses. You must be stewing in anger. Stew is delicious and I think about it all the time. I think I may have found your soulmate. Yeah. Would you date yourself? I ask this question because I've had friends and people who I have known that tend to set unrealistic expectations for what they're looking for. As an example, I had a friend who was morbidly obese but refused to go out with a woman who was obese or even overweight. He would use the words ugly or gross when observing women he found unattractive. This man went years without dating, even though he would complain about being lonely, and unfortunately died last year. How about thoughts on realistic standards? I can answer that question right now. In my current state, I would not. Not because of any physical unattraction. I know I'm not a hideous person by any means. I'm pretty okay looking. My friend Dylan really did hurt my feelings one time, though. He called me like a Colorado Springs 7, but an LA 2. But to be fair, I am an LA 2, because I don't have the money to look like an LA 5, right? Now again, I still think I look pretty good, all right? It's just, I don't know, I don't feel like I've experienced enough of life in a lot of ways yet, so I wouldn't date me just yet. I'm still stewing, like the last guy's stew probably is. Yep, without hesitation. And I've dated versions of myself in the past. They were all lovely. Unfortunately, our stubbornness always led to some disagreement that neither of us backed down or compromised on. That sounds like fun. No, being willing to date me is a major red flag. I began asking myself this question 2-3 years ago. That's when it hit me that I wasn't where I needed to be and changed. Now the answer is yes. See, it's okay to say no. I know it's okay to say no, but I know I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it, all right? And to a certain extent, I always will be. And I think most people always will be. Because we're never done getting older. We're never done experiencing things. We're never going to be the same person decade after decade. That's just not how this works. Even when you're autistic like me, you're gonna be different in the future, even if it's just a little bit. Is lack of ambition a turnoff for men? I'm 31 with little to no ambition. Long story short, I work as a bookkeeper, make around 80 grand a year, and I have no desire to climb the corporate ladder. I graduated with an accounting degree in 2015, and most people attempt to go for a CPA and a master's. Simply put, I'm too tired, lazy, and have too many mental issues to pursue further education. It's a miracle that I can even hold down a job. From a practicality standpoint, I don't want to enter into debt. The only debt I have is credit cards I pay every month. I have a car and live with my parents. I do sometimes feel shame because I'm not so ambitious. Other than that, I'm cute and overall pleasant to be around. I'm working with a therapist to sort out my issues, take my meds regularly, and I do Pilates 3 to 4 times a week. So as a man, would you find this to be a turnoff? I'm looking for honest feedback because I've never had a boyfriend due to strict parents / mental health problems, as I mentioned before. Thanks. That last thing makes me wonder about whether or not your parents are jerks, but reading into the wrong things. I don't know. As a man, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I have ambition, but my laziness gets the better of me all the time anyway. You know, I would not say that you living your life any way that you want or are comfortable with is a bad thing. Are you comfortable? Seems like you are. That's not a bad thing. I don't expect anyone I'm seeing to want to be the CEO of whatever or become a billionaire and have that Sigma grind set, dude. You're allowed to be happy. Anyone with life experience knows that as you mature, your goals will change. You never know what you'll want in 5 or 10 years. But for now, here you are. The fact that you think you show little ambition earning 78 grand a year and working out multiple times per week tells me your issues are with self-esteem. You a catch, homegirl. I mean, yeah, no ambition, but you've got discipline and you're going for things, right? Not really. Career-focused people are not really something I find interesting in a relationship. People have a lot of different things that are desirable. Exactly. You're right now living your life how you want. You're fixing the things that you know are an issue and are harming your existence while still doing things. You're going out. You're You're working out multiple times a week. You're making good money. And someday you might want to make a move, you know? Checkmate. Let's go. But for now, not really a big deal. And that's not a problem. First date, and she looked nothing like her profile photo. Okay, so I'm a 27-year-old dude, matched with a woman on a dating app, and she was local, so we exchanged numbers. We're texting back and forth for a day, and I asked if she'd like to meet up for a drink or coffee after work on a Wednesday. She agreed to go out for a drink. I drove over, and when I walked in to meet her, she was significantly heavier than her profile photo. Like, probably 40 pounds more. It was a big enough change that I didn't really recognize her, and she waved over and called to me from one of the tables. I'm a sociable person, so I greeted her, gave her a hug, and we each had a drink and an appetizer. It was a pleasant enough way to spend an hour, even though I did not really feel much attraction to her. She was fun to talk to. When the bill came, I asked to split it. At that, I could tell she was visibly mad. We had talked about going for a walk in the park in town across from the restaurant, but after getting her card back, she announced it was late and bad weather, it was a little cold and she had a coat, and that she would call it a night. My question is, what's the best etiquette here? Should I have walked in, explained she looks nothing like her photo, and walked back out? She seemed to be mad that she had to pay for her meal, but I also don't believe in men paying for women's meals. She's 25, has a job, has moved out of her parents' house, and can support herself. Well, before we get to the other answers, I do think it's quite not cool to get pissy about someone not paying for everything on a first date, okay? I understand. I would be the type of person to go, oh, no, I got this. I'd do that. But you should not expect anyone to do that. That's not right. That's not cool. At this point, everyone in the dating world is a grown-ass adult. You might have shit going on. They might have shit going on, okay? Go in expecting and being ready to pay for your own shit. It's not a big deal. I think you did the right thing. At least staying to get to know her before you left just based on her looks. But she doesn't seem like a good person if she's using old photos and lying about it. Also, if a woman's pissed about splitting the bill on a first date, it's a big red flag. She's immature and selfish. On a first date, you don't owe each other anything. Hell, you're not owing each other anything until you're like dating exclusively and actually in a relationship that's going somewhere. You know what I mean? And even then, you don't really owe a whole lot. You know, the whole like, you owe me this, I owe you that can feel a little weird at times. But yeah, I agree that it's not really cool to be using old or inaccurate photos of yourself. That does seem a little bit odd. Nah, you played it right. Had a nice chat with a stranger and built up more practice doing this. Okay, there you go. I wouldn't have thought about it that way because I'm dumb, but yeah, you just got a little bit of practice in, my man. Yep, this is why first date drink and appetizer is perfect. Worst case scenario, you get some date practice and you're out $15. That's a good point. Do guys actually like crazy girls? I've been told guys like crazy girls supposedly because they're better in bed. Is this true to some extent? What would make a woman considered crazy? Dude, I could not tell you. I feel like I've been with people that would call themselves crazy, but I wouldn't agree. I'm like, no, you're not crazy. You just get a little quirky at night. That's the process of being single. You date around, meet some eccentric types, and then you're like, I gotta settle down. I almost died last week. That's not eccentric, man. That is next level. I think it's more that a guy is likely to put up with bullshit to have good sex. Girls do it too. Neither is conducive to a relationship. That is true. If you're just going out there and, well, having some fun, that's one thing. But no, don't find the crazy person to try and settle down with, because they're not going to want to, and it's not going to be great for you in the future. Depends on the level of crazy. There's crazy fun, crazy, and then batshit crazy. Crazy fun is generally the crazy that everybody loves. Everything's just perfect, they're fun to be around, whatever. Crazy's sort of the same, but a little more edgy, more interesting, more open-minded. Then you got bat crazy. You just want to stay the hell away from that. That's like restraining order crazy. Move to another state or even country crazy. Like open a closet and they have a shrine for you type of crazy. I don't think that one's as common as a lot of dudes would like to pretend, though. I don't think that there are a ridiculous number of actual bat crazy people. All right, fellas? It's fine. She's just not like other girls. This guy crazies, man. Damn straight. Curvy? Who else is frustrated when people choose curvy on a dating profile when they're not curvy but instead overweight? Well, okay, that's a line I don't know about. I know I'll get some backlash from asking this, but choosing curvy when it should say extra pounds? That's an option? Or overweight messes up the searches and shows people that men would not otherwise choose. I mean, if you want someone to choose you as you are, the correct category is important. I like to be honest with my profile. I asked some people if I was curvy or a few extra pounds. Most people said I was curvy. I think I'm a few extra pounds. One guy called me a fat ass whale. It's hard to know what people on a dating app think. Do I put curvy, or are those people just nice because they know me? Do I put an obese whale because that one guy thinks so? Do I put a few extra pounds, which I think is true, and maybe if I am curvy, the man will be pleasantly surprised? It's so freaking hard. Some men say they are fit/athletic when they play beer league ball or hockey one day a week. When I think fit or athletic, I think of a cut gym guy who works out often, not a dad bod or a beer gut. Well, to be fair, and again, when it comes to subjectivity, because we all have different wants and all sorts of things, you can absolutely have that dad bod and be really athletic. Like, look at the strongest men in the world. They're not the bodybuilders. How many people mention camping and hiking as a hobby, yet haven't done it since they were 15? People are describing their ideal self a lot of the time. At least their self-esteem is high. I would assume, yeah, we'll assume that. It's better to assume something positive than something negative, like they're just trying to catfish you or something. Those categories are hard, though, for real. By my weight for my height, I am average, but by dimensions, I am curvy. So I literally have no idea what to put here. If I put curvy, are people going to take that as a euphemism for that I'm larger than I am? If I put average, are people going to be not attracted to me because some people prefer a more athletic/less voluptuous look? No two people I know have an equivalent definition of curvy, so I feel like it's kind of just a garbage choice no matter what you look like. Update to the best first date and guy who deleted his profile. Yesterday, I made a post about having a great first date. The guy had deleted his online dating account afterward, and I was looking for opinions. I ended up removing the post because I was getting some comments telling me that he was going to ghost me and that it was a red flag. I got anxious and annoyed because we had a second date planned, and that was just not true. It will not let me comment on the old post, so I'm sharing on a new one because people keep asking for an update. Yesterday, he picked me up since he lives close by. We went and got coffees and walked at a local trail until it got dark. I invited him back to my place because I baked a homemade bread and wanted him to try it. He ended up telling me that he deleted his profile because he really wants to focus on me and feels hopeful about us. He says he understands that there's a chance it might not work out, but he doesn't want any distractions and wanted to be respectful. We had a wonderful time together and ended up falling asleep on the couch watching movies. He invited me to come to his house on Friday where he'll cook for me. After 2 years of terrible first dates, I'm very optimistic. I know people told me to watch for love bombing, but I've been in therapy for 3 years for an old abusive relationship, and it really doesn't feel like that to me. Sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable and intentional. I think this guy's a very big green flag. Thanks everyone for your advice yesterday. I apologize for deleting the post, but I started to get worried and have bad thoughts. It was just better to cut it off before I self-sabotaged. It is an interesting choice for someone to do that after the very first date. I will give them that. But hey, if the both of you are game for like really taking it seriously and seeing where it's going and everything, then okay. It might have taken me by surprise. Yay! In my experience, this is exactly how things go when you meet someone you're going to be with for a while. There's no sense in wanting to keep playing the field or keeping your options open. No desire to go on dates with other matches. Matches? Jeez. I need more caffeine. Things just click. I hope things continue to go well for you and this guy. Thank you so much. I really wanted this to be the case, but I was a little skeptical, which is why I made the original post. I appreciated how open he was and that he flat out shared that with me yesterday. That is the good part, alright? Very honest and not a weirdo about it. I'm gonna take a break from mine too. It's only fair and respectful. I really want to continue to explore this with him and see what happens. People move at different paces, and what works for you and him might be love bombing to someone else. So don't worry about it too much, as long as you and him are on the same page. That being said, I will caution you that if you two did meet online, you have really only spent a couple hours with each other so far, and that's not even close enough time to really get a sense of how compatible you are. But at the end of the day, that makes no impact on decisions like how much time to spend together and how fast y'all move. These are mutually exclusive concepts, and as long as you can avoid putting him on a pedestal, you're chillin'. Enjoy getting to know him. Also, in general, Reddit isn't the best place to ask if you're looking to others to soothe your anxieties. That is the most true thing someone's ever said on Reddit. Not the best place to go for that. Girls of Reddit, what are some green flags that you're looking for in a guy? Initially, I was asking the opposite question, how to find a girl with green flags, but I feel like I should probably take a good hard look inward and be a green flag myself before I can attract someone like that. There's plenty I can improve. Hardest thing I'm dealing with is low self-esteem and being a bit more negative than before. A toxic relationship got me kinda hard there. Wait, you didn't say that. I added the word got me kinda hard. That is not what As it came out of my mouth, I realized what it sounded like. Haha, funny, let's move on. So, woman of Reddit, what are some green flags you personally look for in a guy? I'm very curious. Have you found one like that? What are you struggling with? A guy can laugh at his own mistakes. One that doesn't have to be the smartest in the room. A man who listens instead of waiting for his turn to talk. It's a good point. I talk a lot. I could stand to shut up for the rest of my life. They keep their living spaces nice. Means I won't be dealing with all the future housework alone. They listen to listen and not to respond. Easy to resolve things with those kinds of people usually. They can do things alone and not expect me to tag along to things I'm just not into so they can have company. Less risk of codependency. I want signs I won't be a surrogate mother and can have healthy conversations with them. The listening thing is the most important to me, and my partners have that in spades. Always has my back and is reliable. Consistency and reliability are both huge for me. I'll tell you the opposite of a green flag for guys, though. You know, the reddest of the red is that douchebag that broke off a 3+ year relationship because some pork chops didn't get made. Ladies, can you share examples of when you hit on men and they were clueless? Probably every time they ever did. Am I right? Like, how often do you flirt with men you're interested in and it just fails? And they're unaware you're hitting on them? What do you usually do that you feel most men don't pick up on? This is a good one to hear. I met a girl at a bar in Germany one time and we got to talking. She was also an English speaker. Turned out she actually was studying at the same university as me. She seemed really chatty and we added each other on Snapchat. After the trip, when we got off the bus from the airport, she suggested that I could go back to hers for the night rather than walk home all by myself. I guess that Ryanair flight really took it out of me because despite her being surprisingly insistent on the offer, I declined because I wanted to go to bed. Bumped into a roommate of hers a week later who was with her in Germany, and they told me straight up she was trying to get with me. Felt pretty stupid in hindsight. I mean, I'm pretty clueless 99% of the time, or have been, I should say, but that's something I would have picked up on. But again, you were probably, as you pointed out, completely destroyed from flying, which I totally get. You just wanted to sleep. When I was about 16, I was at a friend's birthday party. She had friends from out of town visiting. One of the girls was cute, and we talked pretty much the entire night. She gave naive 16-year-old me every sign that she was into me. I thought she was just friendly. At one point, we were sitting in the back of the room watching a movie with everyone, and she started showing me how the Velcro fly on her, that one just reads weird. Velcro fly on her pants was so easy to open. She opened and closed it in front of me multiple times. I mean, Velcro's cool, but it's not that different from a regular one. She showed me how to get into her pants, and I thought she was a Velcro nerd. Let me guess, you married? I drove 5.5 hours to hang out. No big deal. Oh, God. This one hurt to read. Oh, man, that's just great. I don't think, the question was fully answered, though, because wasn't the guy asking... Hold on, let me go back a bit here. Let me see. Ladies, can you share an example? It felt like a couple of guys talked about completely missing the point, right? Never mind, that doesn't matter anyway. When it came to my personal experiences, I always tried my best just not to assume things, because I know that women are constantly treated like, if they're nice to you, oh, that means you're into them, right? So I, like a lot of guys, I think swung back the other direction so hard that no woman could ever be interested in us in any way. Right? They're just being nice, okay? Inexperienced guys can make great boyfriends. All right, let's see what you got. I'm 23 and my boyfriend is 25. After a couple of dates with my current boyfriend, I asked him about previous relationships and he told me he's never been in one. I was a little surprised at first and a little apprehensive, but after getting to know him more, he put all my anxieties to rest. Soon after, we were officially dating. Ladies, I'm telling you, give the inexperienced guys a chance. This man's loving and adoring. He treats me like a queen. He's kind. He's respectful. He knows how to treat women. He doesn't take me for granted. He said he spent so much time on Reddit, you know, that's a green flag, reading all the dating horror stories on all these subs, just hoping to be lucky enough to get into a relationship to do the exact opposite of what he read. I'm the one that's lucky, if I'm being honest. I know there are a lot of problematic or misogynistic men who are inexperienced, but I'm not talking about them. The guys who are just shy and a little awkward, those are where you'll find an amazing partner. Your mileage may vary, it will vary, but I think inexperienced men are incredible, especially mine. Underrated thing about dating inexperienced people is that you're going to be their first full romantic love. Those who have been in other relationships may take much, much longer to finally open up. Counterpoint, they'll make their amateur relationship mistakes with you, and everyone else makes amateur relationship mistakes in their first real one. I'll say, sounds like he's not so inexperienced anymore, or at least he's a fast learner. If a man is genuinely interested, he will approach you. Do women really believe this? I was just reading a post from a woman who was stating her belief that if a man doesn't approach, that means he's uninterested. Conversely, if he has any interest at all, he'll definitely make a move. Definitely make a move? Nah. I find this fascinating because it's so completely false. For most men, 99.99999% of the time, when we see a woman we are super interested in approaching, we don't, unless she's given some sort of clear signal that she's open to being approached, or even then, a huge percentage of men are clueless to her signals. Many guys are shy or introverted. Plus, there's the fear of being rejected, or the bigger fear of being labeled a creep. Me too, wanting to respect her space, being told repeatedly not to approach in public, etc., etc. How is it possible that so many women are oblivious to this reality? I don't think most of them are oblivious to that. I don't think women are completely oblivious to this reality at all. All right? I guess it just depends on your environment. Is someone working? Leave her alone, right? She's working, you're not. Maybe she's not really into the idea of trying to find a date right now, you know? But if everyone's at a bar or, some sort of social setting, a party, whatever, that's what they're there for, is to be social, right? So that makes a little bit more sense. Is she studying in the library? Leave her the f*** alone, probably. You know, it's quite obvious when and where you should and can approach somebody. Not that this is a rule. You know, sometimes people are pleasantly surprised and they're like, ooh, write their number on the Starbucks cup kind of shit, even though I'm pretty sure that's just a Hollywood thing. But regardless, let's see what the ladies have to say. I don't have time to sit around waiting for someone else to initiate a relationship. When I met my now husband in college, I liked him on sight, so I asked him if he wanted to come over and watch movies. At the end of the night, we said goodbye and I offered my phone number in case he wanted to hang over the weekend. His response? Oh, no thanks, I'm working. The next morning, he had remembered that I mentioned my blog, found it, found my email, and apologized for being a moron and turning my number down. Married 9 years this past September. If you like someone, then say something. It's your job to give yourself your best life, so don't wait for someone else to do it. Applicable to many things. Thank you. I think it's more, if a man genuinely likes you, he'll show you. Also known as, if you keep showing a man interest and he never texts back or plans meetups, or whatever, he doesn't like you that much. Is it a turnoff to ask a woman if I can kiss them? I've asked. I feel like that's a pretty normal thing. All right? Again, Hollywood doing that thing where you should just do it. No, sometimes that is correct. So I'm in my mid-20s and I've never kissed anyone. Been on a few dates, but never ended one in a kiss. Moment just wasn't there. Well, that already kind of answers something, right? The moment just wasn't there. I'm just worried about how to approach this when I eventually go on a date with someone that I want to. First question, is that usually a first date thing? I mean, if the both of you do see it as one, I guess. Second question, and what I'm mainly needing advice with, is it a turnoff to ask? I really want to respect the boundaries of the women I go out with. I feel like if I just go for it and they don't want to, that could be a bigger turnoff, right? I would imagine. But I've also heard that asking to kiss signals that I have no confidence and I'm not forward. Bullshit. I really just feel like asking is respectful and less awkward. I would agree with that point, alright? Don't worry this alpha fucking grind set bullshit like, just go for it, bro. Like, I don't know. Some people would like that, but I also feel like an equal amount of folks are not going to enjoy me just randomly kissing them, even if the moment is there. I think I'm just really anxious about my first kiss in general, especially at 25. Just wanted to see what the consensus was on asking first. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. It's totally fair. Consent is always good. Definitely would prefer it over just going for it, especially out of the blue. You don't always necessarily have to phrase it as a question either. My husband first kissed me by working it into a playful conversation. Flirty asking to come closer. And when I asked why, he said he couldn't kiss me if I was so far away. It made his intention super clear and gave me the opportunity to say no if I wanted. He also kissed me, then asked me out, so our first kiss is whenever the moment is right. There's also the slight lean in and wait for them to bridge the gap aspect too, or simply letting them know you would like to kiss them, i.e., I really want to kiss you right now. And naturally, I would think if they're on the same page, they'll either try to kiss you themselves or invite one, i.e., consent. I, 20, had my first kiss this summer. The guy knew I had never done it before. He asked me to kiss me before doing so, and it made me feel so happy and appreciated. I obviously said yes to him. If anything, it was a turn on. I talked about it with my friends, and they all agreed about how sweet the question was, so I say go for it. Go for asking the question, that is. I ask all the time. Just be confident when asking, and it won't come off weird. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If a guy ever tells you, that just shows that you're kinda not confident and a loser, bro, then screw that dude. I'm so tired of people like that say, yeah, if you do this one thing, you're a beta male, bro, you're a little cuck. Asking is good. Not everyone likes it, because it's been interpreted as not taking what you want, which is a terrible attitude if you stop to think about it. Men aren't predators and women aren't prey. We are all human beings, and we all have a say. Hey, I arrived at Gold Star! Foster a consent-centric atmosphere, and you'll be good. To piggyback on this, it depends on the woman. It sounds like you might prefer someone who's okay with that communication. Most people don't. I am the same as you, and I always ask just because of anxiety. Sometimes they say no, and I'm fine with that. Sometimes they say no because I asked and didn't just make the move. In my eyes, that's just a red flag in general. But most people seem to operate this way. I don't think we could say most. Most of the answers have been, well, not that. Not saying that that's indicative of everyone, obviously. But, be patient and you'll find someone who understands. Please stop telling people who have never been in love to stop worrying and live for themselves. I see this all the time. Someone in their late 20s says that they've never had a relationship and that they feel lonely and that they're hurt from being rejected, and they're worried that they'll never find anyone. And then someone comments one of the following: just enjoy being single. It has its pros too. You need to learn to be comfortable alone before looking for a relationship. Do the things you want to do, not because you think it will attract someone, but just because you want to have a good time. It'll happen naturally one day. You'll find someone when you least expect it. None of that is good advice for someone who's been alone throughout their entire life. It's only natural that someone who has been alone for years doesn't want to be alone. I feel like it's becoming almost like a cult of independence, with lonely people constantly getting told, just be happy alone and wait until it happens naturally. Except, for many, it doesn't. No, seriously, I can't stress it enough. For many people, relationships don't just come naturally, and there is nothing wrong with not being okay with being alone. Yeah, I wish people were simply more empathetic about it. Saying just enjoy being single and learn to love yourself is just a way to brush off real hard emotions that come along with being single later in life. If my non-single loved ones would just take the time to think about how hard it is to be alone during things like a pandemic, or during a storm, or while eating dinner, or while I need to get a biopsy done, or while I'm shopping for food, or while I'm home after work, etc., 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 and said something like, that must be really hard. I know eventually you'll find someone because you're a great person, and if the loneliness ever becomes too much, please feel free to call me, and I will support how I can. You know what's incredibly toxic to the mental health of people who have had trauma? That no one will love you until you love yourself bullshit. I can't count the number of times I've seen it. For those who have been convinced or convinced themselves that they are genuinely inherently unlovable, it perpetuates the feeling that they'll never have a relationship with someone who loves them. After all, if they're so worthless and unlovable and unworthy, how could anyone ever be attracted to them or want to be with them? It's so discouraging and just perpetuates their self-hatred. I really wish people would stop saying it. Hear, hear. Yep, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, love and belonging, friends, relationships, come before self-esteem. You need some outside validation sources. It doesn't and can't all come from the inside. Also, everyone assumes that people who are single don't do this already. They assume we have such low standards of ourselves that we don't have hobbies or enjoy life and have good living standards, etc. Kind of patronizing, to be honest. Woman pays for everything, every time. What? I've been dating a woman. We're both in our mid-30s for 3 months now, and things are really going great. We share the same likes and interests, but one thing is really odd. Whenever we're out, she insists on paying for everything. It's always her treat, even if it's a bus ticket or less than €3, or for less than €3, excuse me. She's really persistent and skilled in both not having it any other way and turning down all conversations about it. I've been trying to address this several times, but she always smiles it away and asks me not to have the conversation. Apart from that, we can talk about anything. To my knowledge, she works in an office and hasn't won the lottery or anything. For next week, she has proposed going to a really pricey restaurant. I told her I only wanted to come if I could pay, but she just asked me not to be silly. I told her that I have the money, but she just smiled it away and said she knew. She even kissed me and initiated sex, so I stopped arguing. Ooh, that seems odd. That seems very, very odd. I, a woman, used to do this. Reasons: I don't care about money. I knew I was better off. I wanted to do a lot of things that ultimately cost, and I wanted to do it with him, so I saw it as a normal cost of what I wanted to do. Separate, as this applies for the very early stages, I never liked someone paying for me, as especially men often have expectations when they pay for a woman. It's a minefield I prefer to avoid. I'm more cautious now and try to make paying equal because some people are, yeah, okay, gotcha. I had a boyfriend that was like this. One day he said, don't ask me. If you really want to pay, you transfer it to my account and not let me pay. He was right. I only asked to be nice, but after he said that, I started transferring money to him when I actually felt like doing it. You have to impose your grounds. If you really don't want her to pay, then don't let her pay. Throw a fit, transfer her the money. Update! We just talked on the phone. This time she didn't avoid it. She actually addressed it and said she didn't feel good about what she'd done yesterday and she understood that it's an issue. So, the main reason why she does it, she can. There's no big secret, but she seems to be really good at her job and she likes feeling generous while she hates the feeling of being at the receiving end. This is how it started. Then, it felt to her a bit like a game. She apologized and said from now on it's gonna be 50-50. 50-50? Yeah, it'll be 50-50. Made me feel much better. Compromise! Happy to hear y'all communicated clearly and came to this conclusion. Spit in mouth. Excuse me? Alright, well, I'm glad we're gonna get the context for this one. I've been talking with this one girl for a few weeks. Today, I called to hear about her day and she told me this. Most of her friends are male, and she hangs out with them most nights. Last night, they were all playing a drinking game. The game essentially was, if you laugh, you take a shot, so she's playing with this one guy, and he's not laughing at her jokes. Another dude in the room tells her it would make him laugh super hard if he spits in her mouth. To which she agreed and allowed. After this, she mentioned that she was sober the entire time and did not do this because she was drunk, but because she thought it was funny. She was telling me this over the phone, and I'm like, what the hell? Why are you telling me some dude spitting in your mouth? In my head. I know I'm in no position to tell her what to do, but what? Why would you tell someone you're interested in that? How would y'all respond? Well, it certainly seems like a weird fucking game. I think after typing this all out, you already knew the answer. What? Nah, as a woman, I'm telling you, leave and don't look back. That's not behavior you'd expect from someone who should, at the very least, slightly care about you. I think this experience saved you a lot of time and effort. Dated a girl like this once. All her friends were guys. I later found out she'd slept with a lot of them, and that I was supposed to be cool with her hanging out with them alone. Needless to say, she told me I was insecure and manipulative when I didn't like it. Well, I wouldn't say that it's weird or stupid for a woman to have a bunch of guy friends, sure. But the whole, yeah, I slept with a bunch of them is a whole different story entirely, I'd say. Because then it's like, okay, are they gonna keep trying even though they know you're... Never mind. It's not that she's testing you or anything, bro. Her view on what's acceptable is what's not... Oh, why am I not able to read these super easily? Let me try that again. It's not that she's testing you or anything. Her view on what's acceptable and what's not is completely distorted, and you'll never reason with her. I'd recommend leaving before you get too emotionally attached. Date someone who will sit down and say, let's fix this, instead of being a child and ignoring you. I think one of the saddest things about failed relationships is realizing you both could have made it work. If they were truly in love with you, like you were them, then they would have fought for you instead of being asshats faking the funk. But they didn't, did they? Their words didn't match a damn thing they said. Sadly, that only means that you loved them more than they loved you. So let's all build that bridge and get over it. Oh my God. I cannot tell you how amazing it is to be with someone whose philosophy is you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. After my divorce, I met my current wife. Our first disagreement was over a scheduling conflict involving a family dinner. I was getting frustrated and started raising my voice a little. She walked up, put her hands on my cheeks and said, hey, it's you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. For whatever reason, that completely changed the mood of the conversation. I was so used to how things worked in my previous marriage, so her response was very refreshing. Also, I'm not the type to share emotions and shit like that, but she does this thing where she draws an imaginary circle around her face and says, no judgment, just listening. It's cute and it makes me feel comfortable. Oh, and one more thing, I love the fucking shit out of this girl. Good. This is such a good outlook. Congrats, my man. I lost a really meaningful relationship in part because my ex saw problems as being between us as opposed to things we could meet and solve together. I think sometimes you need time for yourself, but I totally agree with you. I love when people choose to fix things because it's easier to do nothing. Worth things are never easy. Seriously, my last 2 relationships, I went in telling them I need communication, and if something was wrong, tell me so we can figure it out together. Both times I was sidelined by them wanting to break up over issues we could have talked about and dealt with, but instead they decided to sit on it and let it simmer to a boiling point and throw it all away. I've had that. At least once. If you find someone who's willing to talk things through with you, you found a keeper. Yeah. Also, if you're going to talk about something serious, and you know that the person you're with has anxiety, don't do the whole, we need to talk, and then wait hours to days to actually talk to them about it. That's goddamn shitty to do. That is really not cool to do to somebody.